When people think of the strongest DC superheroes, they may think of Superman, Wonder Woman, Hal Jordan, the Bat Actually Not You, and Martian Manhunter. But what if I told you that there was one superhero who became so powerful that he surpassed all of them? I am of course referring to Captain Atom, one who is one with the quantum realm and eventually became one of the most powerful villains that the DC multiverse has ever seen. Of course, being Monarch. A character who has fought against entire armies of superheroes, made the almighty Monitor scared, and even managed to go toe-to-toe with the heavily overpowered and broken Superman Prime. But what if Monarch were to face off against the likes of the Dragon Ball Superverse? How far would he make it against the likes of Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku, Jiren, Hit, and Beerus? Most importantly though, would he be able to solo the entire verse, wiping out the Angels and even Zeno himself? Well, let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? I do want to mention really quickly though that if you guys want to see more DC, Marvel, Dragon Ball, and SCP content from me down the line, then I would really appreciate it if you guys subscribe. First off, I do want to make it quite clear that I will mostly be using the Nathaniel Atom Monarch, and the reason I'm saying this is because Monarch has another identity known as Hank Hal, but we will mostly use this version to scale the other one because he became much more powerful than him. But just really quickly, we're going to go ahead and cover some of Captain Atom's feats and abilities. Very much unlike Superman, Wonder Woman, and Martian Manhunter, Captain Atom was originally a human known as Nathaniel Atom, a former US Air Force officer and Vietnam War veteran who was falsely accused of a crime he did not commit. In order to clear his name, he quote-unquote volunteered into an experiment with an alien alloy and seen if he would survive the effects of an atomic bomb detonating right under him. The experiment resulted in him bonding with the metal, becoming Captain Atom, and accidentally time-leaping almost 20 years into the future. He has super strength, speed, flight, and even has the capability to absorb all kinds of energy, including chi. He is also able to manipulate matter and atoms. Logically he should be if it's part of his name, right? It's also been implied that he can absorb infinite levels of energy, however he does need to control his influx of power, otherwise he goes time-leaping. The quantum realm that he gathers his powers from has been stated to be infinite, and additionally, he is impervious to magic and is essentially an anti-magical being. Like other heroes, he obviously did struggle to learn how to use his abilities in the early runs, but he was eventually able to learn how to absorb ridiculous levels of energy that even Goku would have trouble with. Even early on, he was already showcased as being able to deal with Cell Saga levels of power by absorbing energy from a bomb that could have very well wiped out a solar system. He's able to release so much energy that Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner, two extremely powerful Green Lanterns, have to work together to contain it. One of his biggest strengths is able to absorb high amounts of radiation. In the Superman Batman issues, Captain Atom was able to absorb most of the radiation in a kryptonite asteroid that was stated as having enough radiation to kill Superman, Wonder Woman, and the Green Lanterns. This is quite impressive since some of these characters have withstood black holes which have high levels of Hawking radiation. Speaking of black holes, Captain Atom has also withstood being in one with relatively no harm. He's been shown as being comparable to other Justice League characters, such as a time when he fought against a Hal Jordan that was not holding back, and he actually ended up defeating him. He even managed to defeat an alternate version of Martian Manhunter and Dr. Fate, who should be at least relative to their mainline counterparts. Although he was holding back and was getting his ass beat, he was able to withstand multiple attacks from a mind-controlled Power Girl who was not holding back and thought that she was fighting Superman the entire time. At the peak of his power, he was shown as being able to casually create and recreate an universe numerous times within the quantum realm. In this universe, he also managed to create multiple superheroes and could manipulate space-time as he pleased. Most impressive though was that he was also able to overwhelm Nekron in his own realm, who is an extremely powerful concept of death. And to give you an example about how powerful Nekron is, during Blackest Night, he was shown as being so powerful that not even the entire lantern spectrum, which includes the green, red, orange, yellow, blue, and indigo lanterns, couldn't even hold a candle to him. Nekron was also capable of making a weakened Anti-Monitor his bitch, and he even managed to kill off and turn many post-crisis superheroes into Black Lanterns against their will. So yeah, he's pretty crazy. Granted, Captain Atom did absorb and use his own power against him, but he was able to come out on top, and he even managed to counter having his soul taken over by him. During 0 Hour is when Captain Atom once again showcased as being able to deal with multiversal levels of power. since he was able to temporarily hold back entropy rifts that were eating away at the universe, and he even managed to absorb a portion of the energy that Parallax Hal Jordan was using to recreate the multiverse. If you haven't read Zero Hour, I really suggest you do, but this is really impressive since Parallax Hal Jordan was able to absorb energy residue from the Crisis on Infinite Earths event. For those that don't know, the Crisis on Infinite Earths event is what essentially marked the end of the pre-Crisis continuity and began the post-Crisis one, in which the Anti-Monitor had destroyed a nearly infinite amount of universes. Yeah, nearly infinite sounds really preposterous, but it is what was written, okay? I'm not the writer, please don't bully me. The point is, Parallax Hal Jordan was going to recreate an event comparable to that magnitude, and although Captain Atom did have some help, he was able to absorb a portion of that energy. Now, I'm going to be real here, although Captain Atom has quite some impressive feats, he is not consistently showcased as being powerful nor fast enough to solo the entire Dragon Ball Super verse. But Monarch, however, is a different story. Now, the question is, how did he become Monarch? Originally, Monarch was showcased in the Armageddon storyline, where one of the post-Crisis superheroes basically pulled a Darth Vader, turned to the dark side and killed off every single hero on Earth. Although he was supposed to be revealed as being a corrupted version of Captain Atom, it turned out to be Hank Hal, a hero known as Hawk. It is quite confusing though, because Hank Hal was stated to not ever becoming Monarch, but this was probably a last-minute change, supposedly due to leaks. Hank Hal Monarch was so powerful that he killed off every single post-Crisis superhero in one blast, including Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and other characters around that level of power. Luckily though, this alternate future was changed, and during their fight, Captain Atom was able to withstand energy attacks that were overwhelming the heroes, and he even managed to absorb this level of power, which unfortunately displaced him out of the time stream. Now, I'm not gonna go over the whole story, but Captain Atom eventually became the true Monarch after he acquired the armor from Hank Hal. Like Hit, he is able to stop time, he can also nullify mind attacks, and apparently, he mastered the ability to absorb large amounts of energy without leaping forwards in time. Once Captain Atom returned from the Wildstorm universe, he was losing his mind and becoming manic to the point that he was inadvertently becoming a villain. His plan was to defeat the Monitors to try and save the multiverse by turning it into one sole universe that he would rule as the Monarch. To give you guys a more solid idea about how powerful Monarch is, we have to go over what he did in Countdown Arena and Countdown to Final Crisis. In Countdown Arena, Monarch held like a mini tournament of power in which he had gathered alternate versions of superheroes to fight to the death, in which the surviving one would serve in his army against the Monitors. He was able to casually just slap alternate versions of Green Lanterns, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and even Lobo at the same time with ease. He even managed to defeat like a Naruto Superman who literally used chakra. Yeah, I'm not lying about that. And as I mentioned in my Superman Prime video, he also managed to casually defeat dozens of Captain Atoms at the same time, and he actually ended up absorbing them into himself, becoming even more powerful. Keep in mind that these alternate versions of Captain Atom should be at least relative to the mainline Captain Atom, who was already showcasing the capability to deal with universal, if not multiversal levels of power. He was so powerful that the Monitors themselves feared him extremely, and this matters a lot because through lore and scaling, the Monitors are actually disgustingly powerful as well. But one of Monarch's best showings was when he was able to fight on par with Superman Prime, who is easily one of the most powerful versions of Superman in the DC multiverse. If you've seen my Superboy Prime video, you'll know that Superboy Prime, even before becoming Superman Prime, was so fast that Bart Allen needed the entire Speed Force to catch up to him. The same Superboy Prime that killed dozens of Green Lanterns, survived a galaxy-level bomb, and even held his own against Sodam Yat, a Kryptonian-like Green Lantern that was amped with the emotional entity of Ion. Monarch was able to withstand many punches from Superman Prime, who could punch his way into the 5th dimension and could also retcon DC history just by simply punching really hard. And even though they were quite comparable to each other, it could be argued that Monarch proved to be too much for Superman Prime, that he had no other choice but to try to rupture his suit, which caused a big bang and wiped out the entire universe. Now, before we get into the whole verdict if Monarch could solo the Dragon Ball Superverse, we do have to make it quite clear that Monarch is easily within the God of Destruction levels of power. This is because he is substantially more powerful than other Captain Atoms who are relative to his original Captain Atom self, who has already performed universal feats. He's obviously comparable if not stronger than Superman Prime, who is more powerful than many post-Crisis, Golden Age, and pre-Crisis characters who have showcased universal feats. And to compare, we'll quickly bounce back into Dragon Ball Super's feats. Everyone knows this already, but Beerus in his battle with Super Saiyan God Goku was threatening to destroy the entire Dragon Ball macrocosm, which is easily a low multiversal feat, since the macrocosm contains realms that are multi-galaxy, if not even universe-sized. Goku then got many disgusting jumps in power from his battles with Hit, Goku Black, and Jiren. This means that Goku and other characters around his level of power would be at least mid-multiversal, becoming comparable if not surpassing Monarch's destructive power due to calc stacking and multipliers. To give you an example about the absurd power climbing in Dragon Ball Super, Goku and Vegeta individually in the Tournament of Power became more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue Vegito and Merch Zamasu, who were echelons beyond base Goku, who after training with Whis became more powerful than Super Saiyan God Goku in his battle with Beerus, who was already threatening to destroy the macrocosm. So yeah, the Dragon Ball Super characters, especially the high tiers, might have more raw power and durability than Monarch, but it's not really gonna matter because what Monarch has in this scenario is speed and versatility. Let me give you an example about how disgustingly fast Monarch is, okay? He was able to match Superman Prime in speed, who was a weaker Superboy Prime, was so fast that Bart Allen needed the entirety of the Speed Force to catch up to him, in which he was stated as being faster than all of the Flashes combined. This is really gross because even an unamped Wally West was able to outrun the initial expansion of the Big Bang, which traveled over 60 trillion light years in half a second, which has been calculated as being 6 of times the speed of light. Even the casual travel speed of Green Lanterns has been quantified to being quadrillions of times the speed of light, and they are clearly much faster in combat. They've even traveled from Earth, which is by the outer ends of the universe, all the way to Oa, in the center of the universe, in just the span of a conversation. Monarch would also be far faster than Shazam, who was able to move between atoms to go back to the Big Bang. Generally speaking, Monarch is easily 6 of times the speed of light, if not much higher. You could actually even argue that he is immeasurable, since the Flash family and other characters on that caliber have been able to move through time with pure speed alone, or in other words, their movement is not under time's jurisdiction in most cases. Granted, the DC universe does work differently from the Dragon Ball one, but it is still worthy to note. However, although much harder to calculate since we don't get exact time frames or exact distance, Dragon Ball Super characters such as Whis are able to cross trans-universal distances in mere hours, which has been calculated as being quadrillions of times the speed of light. Keep in mind though, this is casual travel speed. In the manga, Whis was also able to fly pretty much instantly from Universe 7 to the World of Void, which is a dimension devoid of time and space. Beerus, Goku, and other characters comparable to them would logically scale from this, and in combat they'd be far faster. We can actually get these Dragon Ball characters to even higher levels of speed by a feat that was brought to my attention by my good pal Super Saiyan Ryu. He will actually do an in-depth video on this down the line if you guys are interested. Now, before I get into it, I do want to say that this feat might not be as consistent with what we have in Dragon Ball Super, and it is filler, but I mean, Akira Toriyama said that the manga is pretty much the anime, so deal with it. In Dragon Ball Z episode 195, we actually get a really crazy feat when Goku and Pikkon have to get all the way down to Hell from the Grand Kai planet. We don't know the exact distance that they traveled, but we know that they would have had to travel the equivalent of several universes in length. This is because they crossed Heaven, which is as wide as the living universe, and even after you get past Heaven, it is still, no pun intended, hell of a way down from there to Hell. Unfortunately, we don't have an exact time frame, but we know that they would have had to be in a hurry because they were trying to get to Hell to stop Frieza and Cell. Even if they took like 10 minutes, they would still be traveling quadrillions of times the speed of light. Do keep in mind, guys, this is just base Goku and Z, even before the Buu Saga, even before the Battle of Gods arc, and before all of Super in general. As I said, it might not be as consistent with what we have in Dragon Ball Super, but it is still pretty impressive nonetheless. And by extension, this would help the high tiers of Dragon Ball Super to somewhat contend with Monarch's lower levels of speed. So I've proven to you guys that Monarch clearly has higher levels of speed than the Dragon Ball Super cast, and he would more than likely have even higher levels of stamina as well. And he's definitely proven to be far superior to the likes of Wonder Woman and Superman, who have fought continuously for days, months, and even decades. Not to mention that in all of his battles, even against armies of superheroes, he has never showcased to be tired. The only thing that he might get tired from is these females lying. Am I right, guys? Monarch isn't just a character that is extremely fast and durable, but he is also extremely intelligent. I mean, he was such a mastermind that he was getting the best of and was basically one step ahead of the Monitors, who are some of the most experienced, oldest, and most intelligent beings in the DC multiverse. So before Monarch would even set foot into the Dragon Ball Superverse, he would more than likely be calculating, how fast are these guys, how powerful are they, what abilities do they have, and he would more than likely be absorbing the lower level characters to eventually work his way up to defeat the high tiers such as Zeno and the Angels. Boo is a character who on paper looks formidable because he does have limitless stamina and magic-based abilities. But remember what I mentioned, Captain Atom is essentially an anti-magical based being, so Boo's abilities would be greatly hindered, and Monarch could kill him very easily. Goku Black and Zamasu would offer a different kind of challenge because Goku Black is essentially like the Doomsday of the Dragon Ball verse because he gets more powerful after receiving damage. This might catch Monarch off guard, but remember, he is still much faster than Goku Black, which would essentially force him into using his clone ability and opening up his dimension. But Monarch could simply just siphon energy from it and become more powerful, if not nullify it, because he can manipulate dimensions. Zamasu would be a bit harder to take down because of his latent immortality. But remember, with a strong enough energy attack as Trunks showcased with his plot sword, he was able to cut Zamasu in half and essentially kill his body. When Monarch does kill Zamasu's body, he would essentially cause him to go into his astral Mugen Zamasu form, which would be even worse for Zamasu because Captain Atom is able to enter the astral plane at will. So Monarch could simply just enter the astral plane and absorb Zamasu into himself, and he's been showcased as being able to deal with multiversal levels of energy, even as Captain Atom, so it is not out of the question. Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta would prove to be a bigger challenge because he is substantially more powerful than Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, but Monarch is still too fast and has way too much stamina that he would be able to very easily evade Vegeta's attacks and outlast a fusion and kill the two Saiyans very easily. Theoretically, Beerus or Goku within the manga could put down Monarch using the Hakai, which is an ability that kills your body and soul. And although Monarch hasn't showcased that he can survive soul destruction, he was able to withstand having his soul taken over by Necron, who is literally a multiversal concept of death who would logically scale higher than Beerus to begin with. Do keep in mind that regular Captain Atom resisted this, proving that Monarch would have even higher levels of soul resistance, nullifying the Hakai as a result. Due to Hit's time skip and time cage capabilities, it'd be quite interesting to see a time stop battle between him and Monarch. And even though Hit's abilities may work on Monarch if he's off guard, he would more than likely be able to just break out of it because he scales higher than post-crisis Superman and other characters who have negated being frozen in time. Hit's dimension hopping could help him evade Monarch momentarily, but Monarch is also able to move and manipulate dimensions, which would leave Hit with little chance to do anything. Due to scaling from the aforementioned Afterlife Speed Feat and Z, it may allow Goku and Jiren to not be totally speed blitzed by Monarch, but the biggest problem with Goku is that he has very low stamina. He might be able to fight for long periods of time in his base and Super Saiyan state, but he cannot fight for more than a few minutes in his Mastered Ultra Instinct state. Monarch would also be clearly able to siphon their raw power, allowing him to become strong enough to heavily damage them. And if you guys remember, in Dragon Ball Super, in most cases, by having higher levels of raw power, you can negate hacks. So if Monarch becomes more powerful than them, it would leave them susceptible to his abilities. Jiren would be quite tough to put down, but Monarch is simply too fast and versatile to lose to him. Although Monarch might seem invincible, one of his biggest weaknesses is that if you puncture his armor, it would essentially cause a huge amount of energy and radiation to spill all over the vicinity. Theoretically, if Goku or Jiren or whoever is strong enough to actually puncture his armor is able to do so by predicting his movements or getting a really lucky shot in, might not really be possible, but we'll just give it to them anyways. they would be dooming themselves because all of that energy being spilled could very much kill them. And yeah, the Angels and Zeno are clearly magnitudes beyond Beerus, Goku, and Jiren, but once again, there's really nothing implying that they have the speed or stamina to even outlast Monarch. However, if all of the Angels gang up on him with their Ultra Instinct, they might be able to defeat him in that regard, but then again, it's a lot of what-ifs when there's more evidence pointing towards Monarch just having the advantage in almost every single category. And as I said, according to Monarch's plan, he would more than likely be absorbing the energy of weaker opponents that he faces until he's able to basically overwhelm the high tiers like Zeno and the Angels. Zeno would be undoubtedly a really difficult opponent to beat, not really because of his durability or raw power, it is more so because of his ability to simply raise his hands up and destroy anything in the vicinity as he pleases, and he can do so from very far away. If Zeno is somehow able to survive the barrage of attacks that he wouldn't even realize happened and is able to erase Monarch, then he could win in that regard, but Monarch simply has way too many things in his favor that would help him kill Zeno. It is entirely possible that Monarch could damage, if not even kill Zeno, because I mean, even Superman Prime was able to beat down a weakened Mr. Mxyzptlk, who in his normal stages of power is easily able to destroy infinite multiverses. Granted, Mr. Mixie was weakened and he did have his magic taken away, but even after getting it back, he was like, I don't know if I really want to fight Prime, and obviously Monarch would scale to Prime in this case, so you can see that it is not out of the question that Monarch could kill such a being as Zeno. Generally, I do believe that due to Monarch's high levels of speed, stamina, and hacks, and versatility, he would more than likely be able to solo at least a large portion of the Dragon Ball Superverse, if not all of it entirely. Granted, with a good amount of difficulty and patience. But what do you guys think? Do you believe that Monarch could solo the whole verse? And if not, let me know why. But I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun doing it. I was basically reading almost every single Captain Atom Monarch issue I could find. But thanks a lot for watching, and I'll catch you thotties next time. Peace out.